financial argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Now, we've been watching this economy for quite a while, and we've been reporting on it. We've been looking at all the economic indicators, and we are seeing that we're at this point. We're at a crossroads where the central bankers are looking at the economy, looking at world events, and they're about to make a decision. A decision in what they do. What does that mean? Well, we know the central bankers want to bring this system down. They have to. Because they don't want the system falling apart on its own. It will be blamed on them. So they have to bring it down and make it look like the system came down because of X, Y, or Z. Right now we see Deutsche Bank. It is failing. Will Germany bail it out? Will the central bankers come to its rescue? Maybe. Even though they're saying they're not going to. But we can see the central bankers, they're preparing for this collapse. They need to bring it down in phase one. And we can see we're getting closer and closer to this point in time. And as we move forward here, what we're going to see is more events, more failures, and we have to watch very closely at what the central bank does. And we need to watch what the U.S. government does. Because what we're seeing around the world, we're seeing the entire system imploding all at once. And it's going to spread all over the place. It's going to start out in Europe, most likely, and then work its way in. They told us that Greece was fixed. Everyone is happy. There are no problems out there. But we see there are riots out there. Greek pensioners, they're protesting because of the cutbacks to their benefits. Remember, there's still austerity in Greece. And these pensioners went out. They marched to the Prime Minister's Tsipras office. And they're demanding no more austerity. They want their pensions. Well, the police met them and they blocked their path. They were spraying pepper spray and tear gas on the people. And once again, we can see that Greece is not fixed whatsoever. All there is tape on top of tape on top of tape holding it together. Greece is in a huge amount of debt. Unemployment is skyrocketing. Nothing has improved whatsoever. It's completely impossible to build an economy like this. Yes, for the creditors, for the bankers, it's working out very well for them. We see out in France, the unemployment rate in France surged in August to a 12-month high of 10.5%. Now, President Hollande said he will not run for re-election unless the unemployment rate is below 10%. The question is, will the lying politicians keep their word? Most likely not. And he'll most likely run no matter where the unemployment numbers are. They love power. They never want to give it up. We see ING. They're planning to cut 7,000 jobs. We know that Commerce Bank, they're laying off 9,000 people. And we're going to see more financial institutions laying off more and more individuals. This reminds me of 2008, where corporations were laying off right before the stock market crash. And a lot of this is very similar. I mean, Deutsche Bank looks like Bear Stearns right now. Maybe not the financials, but what is happening. Maybe even close to a Lehman. But we can see things are very, very similar. Automakers, they reported that U.S. sales in September and the demand for new cars and trucks, well, they have completely sputtered. Overall, U.S. sales were expected to fall 1% to 1.4 million in September. This is the fourth month of declining sales this year. And this is coming from J.D. Power. And we see that demand is slowing. General Motors fell 1%. Ford Motor Company fell 8%. Fiat Chrysler fell by 1%. And you have to remember how the sales are calculated in the auto industry. When the manufacturers deliver the cars to the dealerships, those are counted as sales. And we can see right now that this entire economy has been manipulated to make us believe that the economy is doing well. But every time we look at these economic indicators, what do we see? We see the opposite happening. We see in the restaurant industry, this is a leading indicator of the U.S. economy. Well, we're seeing a lot of restaurants declare bankruptcy. Logan's Roadhouse, which is a steakhouse with over 200 locations, they've closed 10 restaurants, declaring bankruptcy. We see 8 restaurant companies representing 12 chains have filed for bankruptcy since December. The National Restaurant Association reported on Friday that the Restaurant Performance Index fell by 1% and is now contracting. And it is the worst reading since October of 2012. And when you look, we're back at that point where it contracted back in 2012, it contracted back in 2010. And right now we're at 99.6 on the Restaurant Performance Index. When we had the crash in 2008, it dropped all the way down to 96.5. But right before the crash, it was at 101. So we are below that already. And the trend right now is down. So what we're seeing right now is the situation is getting worse and worse. And they're saying that same-store sales are declining, customer traffic is drying up, and only 30% of the restaurant operators reported a year-over-year increase in same-store sales. That's down from 71% in February. We see U.S. construction spending signaling a recession. For the first time in 5 years, U.S. construction spending fell. What we're seeing is everything declining right now. Now, what's very interesting, it fell to negative 0.3. We are in a downward trend in U.S. construction spending. We saw this back in 2006, going into 2007. We had a dead cat bounce, and then boom, everything fell apart. We are in the same position we were back in 2007. Everything is not getting better, it is getting worse. We see manufacturing growth slow to a crawl in September. This suggests that the economy is stuck in a soft patch. Of the 18 manufacturing industries, 7 reported growth in September and 11 reported contraction. And when we look at this, we can see that manufacturing, again, is a downward trend. We're in a dead cat bounce. The dead cat bounce is over, and it is falling once again. We see the Baltic Dry Index falling to 864 points, down 11. We know out in Germany, Deutsche Bank is in a huge amount of trouble. Many clients out there, they were unable to access cash due to the IT outage. There was a glitch in the system. Was it really a glitch? Were they testing something? And we understand that the Department of Justice, well, they're using these fines on Deutsche Bank, and the fine is about $14 billion over its mortgage-backed securities business before 2008 global crisis. And the Germans are sitting there going, this looks like the U.S. is waging economic war against Deutsche Bank. Now, let's just think about this for a second. The central bankers, they understand that these banks are insolvent. Yes, they put up the illusion that everything is fine. They pass the stress tests, but they realize that these banks are completely insolvent. One little thing brings them down. The U.S. government, central bankers, they understand this. Now, why would they place a $14 billion fine against Deutsche Bank to say you owe us this from 2008 global crisis in the year of 2016. 8 years later. Why are they doing this now? Was this on purpose? Because they knew exactly what was going to happen if they did this. Just like they know what's going to happen if they maybe raise the interest rates, or if the ECB raises the interest rates, or Bank of Japan raises the interest rates. This is why they haven't. So, are they keeping Germany in line, or have they started the collapse of the system? They needed something to kick it off. This way, they can point elsewhere. Now, most likely, the corporate media is not going to push this idea out there that the U.S. government central bankers are starting the collapse. But we can see right now, it does have the characteristics of an economic war. We know that Germany is moving closer to Russia. We know they want to remove the sanctions that the U.S. is trying to enforce against Russia. So is this being used to control Germany? And if they don't listen, they will bring down their economy. And then, of course, as we know, this is going to spread. Now, remember, the central bankers want this to implode. They might turn around and blame this on Germany. They want the system to implode because the central bankers, they know they have nothing left to use. They need legislation passed to take further control of the economy. They will start quantitative easing. They will lower the interest rates. They'll most likely buy equities. And we know they're going to do other things. What they are, well, we don't know right now. But we know they're in the works. And they need to show the system is coming down so they can bring it back up. And we know that period of time from when it collapses the first time to phase 2 is going to be a very short window. So they will have the next event ready to go to blame it on another country, another group, or even the American people. Because we can see what is happening right now. We have the 9/11 bill, which allows people to sue. We see people already starting the lawsuits against Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia already threatened to sell the assets of the United States, moving closer to Russia. This is going to push Saudi Arabia closer to Russia. And we can see they can use this to blame it on the people, because it's not going to be one thing. Everything is connected to this economy we're in. The petrodollar, Deutsche Bank, the derivatives, the interconnectivity of all the banks, what is happening out in Saudi Arabia, the huge debt level. Everything is all connected. And the corporate media, they'll just come out and blame it on anything they want. I mean, we hear Deutsche Bank talking about speculators. I mean, Nixon used this back in 1971 when he took us off the gold standard. They will make up anything to explain why this is collapsing, as long as it's not blamed on them, because their plans are to take further control of the system to set us up for the main collapse. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.